Hi, my fellow educators. Welcome to the Teachers Impact Podcast. My name is Shani Marie Ogilvie, certified educator, and I am your host. If you are a teacher that wants to share or hear the opinions, experiences of other teachers, looking for innovative ideas for your classroom, learn how to apply research-based practices in your classroom, feel like your voice is not being heard because decisions are being made by people who haven't been in a classroom, then this podcast is for you. I have been in education for over 10 years and I've served in many different roles. I've been a classroom teacher, instructional coach, supervisor, and curriculum fellow. But in the end, my experience and passion for student achievement is what drives me. My hope is that we're able to share our expertise and knowledge, which helps us to learn and grow through these weekly episodes. This is episode 27 of the Teachers Impact Podcast. Before we get started, I wanted to let you know that if you struggle with classroom management, I have a micro training available, and you can learn more at teachersimpact.net/courses. So make sure to go and check it out. Let's get started. On this episode, we'll be talking about 5 mistakes to avoid when preparing for standardized testing. Standardized testing can be stressful, but there are some things you can do to minimize the stressful situation and to set your students up for success. And I know that this year is particularly difficult because thinking about testing students during a pandemic is not something teachers want to do. So I'm here to give you some things to avoid when thinking about standardized testing, whether or not your state is going to do that this year. So the first mistake to avoid is to not explicitly teach test-taking strategies throughout the year. Sometimes as teachers, we can wait until a month before the test, a week before the test, to teach students those test-taking strategies. Am I saying teach to the test? No. But when students are familiar with test-taking strategies, it will help them to reduce their test anxiety because they have strategies to use when they get stuck if they don't know the material and they can't move forward. And also, test-taking skills are used beyond school, so it's important for students to learn to be able to use their test-taking strategies. And just as an example, in my adult life, there are numerous times when I've had to take tests to demonstrate my knowledge. In episode 19, I talk about Google certification. And in order to become Google certified, you have to take a test. Is it a standardized test? No, but it's a test that is going to demonstrate my knowledge. So I need to have those test-taking strategies to help me. And the students also need those test-taking strategies. The second mistake to avoid is not simulating the test environment. Simulating the test environment will prepare students for what they will encounter on test day. If students are familiar with the testing environment, they can focus on their test. The third mistake is not exposing students to practice test items. I did not know the power of exposing students to practice test items, honestly. A former principal of mine is the one that introduced this to the teachers in our school and myself. It was eye-opening because once we started doing it, we saw that some students got stuck with even understanding the question. And it's just unbelievable how exposing students to the test item helped them to prepare for what they were going to encounter on test day. And once students saw the level of difficulty with the test questions, teachers had to encourage them and let them know that they could do it. It may look different from what they were taught in the classroom. It is something that they will be able to break down and figure it out. The third mistake is not teaching students how to use the technology tools in the test or that will be used in the test. After proctoring multiple tests, I noticed that students did not know how to use the tools in the standardized test they were taking. For example, something as simple as dragging and dropping. Students who are not familiar with this will have great difficulty answering the question or tackling the question. Some students, because they have never been taught how to use the tools like the highlighter function, will sit there and play with the tool. So teach students how to use the technology tools in the standardized test. And, we can say that students, they're digital natives, so they know how to use these things, but do they know how to use the tools in the context of a test taking setting? That was actually tip number 4 or mistake number 4. So now we're on mistake number 5. And that's not teaching students how to check their work or answers. I've seen this time and time again where students will not go back and check their work during a standardized test. Teaching students how to check their work will prevent them from making minor mistakes that can cost them. Having students check their work on a continual basis is also a best practice for instruction. Some key takeaways from this episode. Number 1 is to explicitly teach test-taking strategies throughout the year. No, we don't want to teach to the test, but students need to learn test-taking strategies. Number 2, simulate the test environment. Make sure students know what they're going to expect in the environment on test day. Number 3, expose students to practice test items. Students will be able to see the level of difficulty. Number 4, teach students how to use the technology tools in the test or that will be used in the test. And last but not least, I know that there is a lot of controversy surrounding standardized tests this year, especially with everything going on, but I do think there is some benefit to teaching students test-taking strategies and all the things that we talked about previously. And again, if you're struggling with classroom management as a new teacher, as a mid-career teacher, I developed a micro training. You can check it out at teachersimpact.net/courses. Thank you so much for listening. If you found the content helpful and valuable, don't forget to share to your teacher friends and rate and favorite on your favorite podcast app. And if you favorite it, you will be able to know when new podcast episodes are released automatically. And again, you can follow me on Instagram at Shani Marie O or at Shani Marie O. Again, thanks so much for listening and happy learning and growing.